To go further in depth on presidential politics and some other things, we're joined by a man who has run for president before, and prior to that served as governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee. Mike is the author of the new book, Gun, Gods, Grits and Gravy. Mike, it's great to have you back on America's Forum. That is a great title.
Great to be with you.
Wow, a great title for a book, but is there a chapter in there, lose the primary to win the general election?
It's a little confusing, JD, because if you don't win the primary, you're not in the general election. It's like saying, I'm going to lose all of the preliminary rounds, but I'm going to the Super Bowl. Well, it doesn't quite work like that, and you got to win the primary. Jeb is a good friend of mine. I think he's a great guy, and I'm not sure exactly what he was saying, other than that you don't want to maybe expend all of your political capital in the primary trying to go too far, pleasing some more of the most idealistic and ideological people in the party, that it makes it impossible for you to win the general. But you know what? I don't think that's necessary. I don't think you have to go out and sacrifice your convictions. What I think people look for more than they look for checking off all the boxes in some doctrinal statement, I think they're looking for authenticity. It's not that they expect you to agree with them on every issue. They at least expect you to agree with yourself. And after 8 years of watching President Obama say one thing and then doing something completely different and openly lying to us about Obamacare, Benghazi, now immigration law, I think people just want someone who will be straight and honest with them. They can handle the truth. What they can't handle is another series of one lie after another.
Well, we take a look at the current president, and I guess it might be called voters' remorse, because a lot of people are talking about Mitt Romney again. Of course, Mitt, the other day, had something to say on Univision. Our friend Rush Limbaugh calls it Romnesty, saying that the GOP Congress actually needs to get ahead of the president and pass an even more aggressive bill to allow illegals to stay in the country. What's your take on that whole situation?
Well, I don't think any American is going to be overly excited about what Congress does until what Congress first does is secure our border. Because everything we do before we do that is just an invitation for millions of people to get here as quick as they can, to get in on free education, free health care, all sorts of benefits that we can't afford to give out. People need to come here ready to contribute rather than coming here ready to receive. We're $18 trillion in debt. We welcome immigrants who want to come help build America, but we can't be the unloading dock for everybody who wants free services at the expense of taxpayers who are struggling to get their own kids educated, struggling to put groceries on their own table. The fact that most wages for workers in America have stagnated over the past 20 years. And as a result of that, I think the last thing we ought to be talking about is how do we make it possible for more people to come here on the government dole? We need to be talking about how do we make it possible for more hardworking Americans to succeed and get at least a rung or two up on the ladder of the American dream.
About a minute remains in this segment, Mike, and you've been here before, and we've visited the question before, and I know that you have your own television appearances that you make in your own name, but while you're here, with a minute left, what about 2016? When are you going to make a decision? Would you care to clue us in right now?
Well, the same answer that I've been saying, and that is that sometime in the spring is when I'll decide whether or not I'll make another go at it 16. Right now, I've got a lot of things that are my obligations that I need to fulfill. And so it's not something that I can decide upon until I'd say into late March, early April at the very earliest for me.
Okay, so we'll book you for April 2nd. Okay, rather than April Fool's Day. We don't want to fool around with this. Yeah. Speaking of commitments, Mike, you're very gracious to commit to stay with us for the next segment because there are other events in the news that we want to get your take on, including what has transpired in Ferguson. In the interim, you heard from Governor Huckabee. He's going to wait till the springtime. You want to see him run for president? Why don't you send me a tweet at Newsmax TV, #America's Forum, and we'll be right back.